Well, hello everyone.
Bonjour.
It has been some time.
It has.
It's been since I think September, beginning of October.
Yes. 3 months.
So this is going to be our last podcast of the year. Today we're going to be talking a bit of abstract things. What or who is God? But
What is God? What is
God?
even the word? What does it mean? How people use it as a manipulation.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have some fun
We're
today.
going to have some fun with it. The other thing is also Chris is going to take some time off. I'm going to still do it. I'm going to still do the podcast and whatnot. But Chris is going to just take some time off, figure some stuff out for himself. We'll all go through those moments, right? But
100%.
He's
But I
gonna
do
come
really
back.
appreciate it.
yeah,
I appreciate the 150 people we have that follow us. It's really cool, and that's a big deal. So
But-
thank you.
but he will be coming back
As a guest.
stronger.
Yeah, 100%.
Not just a guest. In the future, you're going to be back, trust me.
Exactly.
But he's going to be coming back stronger, and we're going to be working on some projects, personal projects for him. I'm going to be helping him out, so we're going to be
2023 will be a big
Yeah.
big year. Big year
Exactly.
for everybody.
yeah. So that being said, Chris, how do you want to start this?
So first thing I want to talk about is the history of the word God, right? If you think of the history,
I want to stop you there.
Go
Okay,
for
so
it.
before anything, everybody has their own meaning of God, right? I
Yes.
just want to say this.
100%.
And I'm sure Chris is going to go over it, but I want to say it at the beginning. Everybody has their own belief of God, of what God is, who God is. I would like to just say it could be just a universal God, a divine God, God within you as well. So we're going to continue talking about that, but I just want to clarify, we're not just talking about God as a Christianity or Christian
exactly,
Catholic.
not at all.
We're just talking as in God as a whole, as a general, right?
If you were to just think of that word, because it's such a powerful word. Think of it. We've been on Earth as
Millions of years, but
millions of years, exactly. But the fact that God has always been a source of it is a massive thing. And for me, it's something to really reflect on, because when you start thinking about how religions became of it, you have to ask yourself the big question: chicken or the egg? Kidding. God or religion first, right? What came first? Because some people, I've watched Morgan Freeman. He has a great documentary on God, and he does this whole great thing about it, which is actually where my inspiration of this conversation came up to it. And he said, there's good arguments to say that even having a conversation about an idea of a creator is actually where consciousness begins. And that's cool.
so consciousness, awareness,
Awareness of the self.
yeah, and I think even just being aware of God being within us, we are God ourselves.
Well, see, that's the thing, right? So, in Morgan Freeman's documentary, when you think of consciousness, it's self-awareness and self-actualization and anything to do with the word self. Because, see, a dog doesn't know it's a dog. A human does know it's a human and actually can identify multiple animals out there. But an animal, when identifying another animal, there's a level of consciousness, right? And then when you talk about intelligent species, such as dolphins and so on and so forth, it's because there's a level of self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you say God within, that's actually consciousness. It's the most historically accurate depiction of what God means. And then there's this great scientist, which really gives us both extremes so that we can really have a conversation in the middle, of scientists saying that you can't just explain God because God is bigger than our minds. It's bigger than our consciousness, right? And that is big. When you start really thinking about that, it's a mind blown, because you can't actually understand the aspect of God with the factor that your consciousness is only like 10% of your self-awareness, because that whole quote coming from like you only use 10% of your brain, that's only because 10% of your brain is your level of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
You consciously deciding I'm going to eat now versus later.
Mm-hmm.
Your conscious mind of deciding I'm going to plan out a day versus just doing your day, right? Because the 90% of the rest of your brain is making sure your heart's beating, it's making sure that your stomach is digesting and everything. If you had to consciously work at that, hey, you'd be sitting there a while.
But they're using a lot of energy.
Exactly. So that's the extremism of both. Coming to realization of a self-actualization that, look at us. How did we get here? What is it all about? To the other extent of God knows what it actually means. What is the universe? Wow, how does it all happen? How does it intertwine?
It's always a question that...
There's the hook.
It's always a question of... I always ask this question also. It's, how is it that we just, out of thin air, became something,
In some books, were to say that you did just come out of there.
But
you were made out of clay.
I'm going to go a little abstract maybe with people believe it or not, but there's other universes and other galaxies and everything. It's like, how do we become this? How did it all start with other universes? How did it
how come we're in this one and not those
exactly
ones?
What's going on?
And that's where the topic of Mandela effect comes in.
Oh, the parallel universe.
Right? Did Pikachu have a little black thing on his freaking tail?
I just realized, okay, we're going to go off topic right here. I realized something the other day. Okay, it's a Christmas song.
Okay.
Oh, now I forgot it. It's the one that goes, you can count on me. Okay, with Michael Bublé sings it again.
Okay.
Shit, I forgot the lyrics. The lyric, I don't know if I'll make you listen to it after. But if you guys listen to the Michael Bublé version or any other versions, it's a matter of. I used to always remember the lyric being, "You can count on me."
Okay.
And now I'm hearing it as every other version too. You can plan on me.
Plan on me.
What? And it doesn't even make sense.
Maybe it's because of wax in your ears.
I was starting to think. I'm like, did this really shift?
And that's where the questions start beginning in the middle, right? Yeah. Because we hooked you into the conversation of God as a place that cannot be explained versus something that was explained while being just self-actualized. And now we're going in the middle, where Mandela effect will argue that there are shifts. And the fact of the matter is that, after I think 2010, they started using those machinery to make little black holes and stuff.
The particle accelerators.
Exactly. That for sure affects us in some level.
100%.
You can't think it doesn't, because when you start realizing how everything is frequency, that frequency in itself obviously vibrated something upon us.
We talk about this in our group chats and stuff, but I never heard the word tachyon, right? I told you guys. Never heard the word tachyon being used other than in the movie or in the TV shows The Flash. And in The Flash, what do they use? All particle accelerators.
They do.
To manipulate energy, to create gods, literally gods, right?
Like the god of speed.
God of speed. Stuff. And I'm getting shivers, holy crap. That means it's true. And then I heard of the word tachyon being used in another group chat and stuff. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Things in TV are starting to come out in the real life.
And that's where the question is again, what came first, the egg or the chicken? And now that you mentioned creating gods, if you look at Greek mythology, they discussed gods as in the god of an element, or
even
the god
Egyptians.
Right before we get there, the Greeks, Poseidon is the sea, Zeus was lightning, Hell, what's his name?
Hercules? No, not
Darn it. Hercules was strength. And the idea that gods were half inbreeded, and there's half, there are those who are half-half, right? Because Hercules was the first to be
full human
bastard. Half human, half God, right? So, the fact that was a conversation back then, and then you go even further back to Egypt, which he just took a course on.
Yeah,
so go for it.
Well, I mean, the Egyptians, from what I know or from what we know, is that there was 30 plus gods that they look up to, and the god of harmony, the god of healing, the god of creation. There's gods for everything, but what it is, and I'm not too sure about the Greek mythology, but because I did the Egyptian mythology, there's all aspects of rituals, meditations to call upon these gods. And it's the same way when we do prayers or when we do meditations, is we're consciously
Trying to get a
connection to the higher power.
And that's where it all connects, if you really think about it, in the way of I'm being self-aware of myself, which is where the idea of God came about. And now those individuals wanted to connect with a self-actualization, a self-awareness of an element, right? Like the fact that even in Africa today, they believe in rain dances, and they believe in doing these rain dances so that they can get rained down. It's like they're communicating with God, or a form of God, or the self-actualization within the element of rain, which it makes sense, right?
And
because
rain is to cleanse them.
Yeah, and when you meditate in yourself and you ask a question, whatever the topic may be, like say fertility, for example, right? The Greek gods of fertility, I think it was Hera, they would pray to her. They even made monuments for her where you can go in there and pray to her with the idea that you can communicate with her. We're communicating with a self-awareness of the topic of fertility. So think of that, you know? And so in today's day and age, there's multiple religions, 100%. There's still people's formal belief in God and a source and so on and so forth. So, you know, like it starts to all make sense of what God is.
When you look at all these religions and when you look at the belief systems and whatnot, you're believing into a higher power. You're believing into, and this is from just analysis, I guess, that every religion comes down to respect thyself like everyone else. You know, yes. Respect yourself, respect others. Everybody's respected at the same level. And the other aspect is have faith. Have faith in what could be, and have faith that, you know, you're praying for your beloveds to be healthy or to not go through some cancer process. You know that. So that's what we're trying to get at, is whatever you create in the mind, you're always creating to a higher power.
So, you know, and again, with the extremes, because I love putting out a spectrum, at this level of reality is you have a self-awareness and you communicate. And then, like he said, you have to have faith to the part of the scientists where you can't explain God. God is bigger than our minds can comprehend. And that's why faith is so important. Because we can't, right? Is there a factor that, you know, some religions were invented just to control people? 100%, right? Because the biggest saying in the world is power can corrupt. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, you know, you want to talk about the Dark Ages from the year 500 AD till about
now.
Yeah, still today, you know, the fact that the Pope came to Quebec and people went nuts for him, or he came to all of Canada, to, you know, give peace and to try to apologize for all the stuff that happened to the natives. Some people were still crazy about how, I want to touch him. And it's like, whoa, he's here to do an apology. Leave the guy alone.
Can I say something? Vatican makes $1.3 trillion a year. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, so that's a whole other thing too, right? So the level of control of how many people want to kiss his feet, like, it's insane.
Yeah, but but to kiss his feet is because it's like a sign of respect for him.
Yes,
right? So
but that's where the question is, are you having your own self-love with God, or is it through the channel of somebody else who has claimed to be the person closest to God? Yeah. And that's something, in my opinion, I have a problem with.
Yeah, well, you have a problem with, because you understand that we have the power within us to respect.
You gotta love yourself more than the Pope.
You also understand that we are our own gods too, to a certain extent, if we let ourselves be, right?
Right. Well, this is where the question of God in itself, right? It's self-actualization. So the more you fall in love with yourself, the more, not like, you know, egotistical. No. Love in the way of non-judgmental, non-conditional, unconditional. And you come to terms with accepting yourself without this whole level of standardization. Scientology is a whole huge one for that.
But
Yeah? So
manifestation, right? So we create, right? If we're creating something, God created something. If we're able to create and manifest something, then there could be a question of we are our own gods.
and that's where it comes down to.
And at the end of the day, it's be God, but again, be respectful and don't think of your God that you rule everyone. You're God within yourself to.
Well, see, that's where I think a bit of miscommunication happens. Because,
Yeah.
see, God at the end of the day, again, based on history and everything that we just discussed, is a level of self-awareness. It's never been about power. I think people who were in power, who manipulated the word God, in my opinion, and it's all my opinion, so, if you want to cancel me, it's your choice. That's actually good because you're going to make me famous. Anyways, it's a joke. Is the fact that God is not really power. Power is its own thing, and God in itself is your level of self-awareness. It's your level of being one with everything around you. It's like when people talk about spirit, that's God. God in the way of the little molecules, the little atoms, the fact that everything around us is literally atoms floating around. And then there's a connection between all of them.
I don't know if
That's insane!
I don't know if I said this already. I'm sure I've done it in some podcasts, but don't forget that every organism is made up of electrons and protons that are literally vibrating with each other and never touching each other under a microscope.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, like even this table as it looks one, they're all little molecules like Chris was saying, and they're vibrating to look at the naked eye to be one. So if I'm vibrating as close as possible, what's keeping it, holding it together is energy and the frequency, and that's why we have to keep elevating our vibrations and staying at a constant positive mind flow mindset, and keep our frequency in that, like I keep mentioning, unconditional love's frequency and joy and peace. And
Because when conditions start to get involved, they make you doubt.
Yeah.
And they make you start deteriorating in some way, right? And that's very true.
and
it
it lowers
does
your
happen.
vibration.
Exactly. Oh, Merry Christmas to you too.
Merry
Thank
Christmas,
you.
Ant. So today also is the winter solstice. Very good energies are supposed to be happening. For those that are, actually we're all in transition, but it's all going to be for the positive. There's a new big shift tonight and for the winter itself. We see winter as dark times, but keep elevating your vibrations and you're going to see you're going to go through this new winter solstice with ease.
And that in itself is a form of the history, in the way that back then they looked at the sky, they looked at astrology, and they were really interested in it because they had no TV. But they really looked at at how the stars were, how everything shifts, how the earth moves around, and they gave it a level of awareness, a level of power, a level of energy, in the way that it was important, And I'm not here to say it to anybody that, you shouldn't believe that. No. I'm saying you should. You should believe in something, because whatever gets you connected at the level where you can find some level of love and connection, that's amazing. There's so many studies that shows that those who have faith are more happier. Those who have no faith are not. So that's a big thing. And that's important.
Yep.
Because you have to find something. You got to be connected with something.
You could play on the mind like the placebo effect, right?
Oh,
The
yeah.
placebo effect, why does it work? Because you're telling yourself that you're going to be healthy or whatnot, right?
And there's a great episode on Explained on Netflix that talks about the placebo. It's insane. It's really cool. Check it out.
So we'll leave you guys on that note. Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year and happy holidays to all
Yeah.
the other religions out there, and all the words that could be
Yeah.
said.
Stuff your faces, especially you Italians out there. Enjoy the time with your family. May 2023 be amazing. Like I said, 2023 is a big shift for a lot of us. Positive things are going to be coming. So just continue being in your heart space. Continue pushing those great high vibrations. And for those of you that are having tough times now, fight through it, because it's going to keep getting better. Just trust in it. Trust the process.
Have
And,
faith.
Have faith, exactly. Believe.
There's a reason for it.
There's a reason for everything, and there's no
And-
coincidences in life.
And God's the only thing that understands it, and you gotta have faith to be able to understand it later. Because
Yeah.
if you try to understand it, you will go crazy.
Actually, we'll leave it on this. If you don't know the answer now, you will in the future. Just be patient.
Exactly.
All right, guys. Again, happy
care.
holidays, and enjoy.